The first sign that Daniel Harper no longer mattered to his family came from a glowing phone screen on a quiet Tuesday night. He had just come home from work in Seattle, loosened his tie, and collapsed onto the couch when he opened social media. Without thinking. That's when he saw it his sister Emily in a white wedding dress, smiling beneath soft lights, holding a man's hand as guests cheered around her. The caption said it all. Best day of my life. Daniel's heart dropped. He stared at the date. The wedding had already happened. He hadn't been invited. No call, no text, no explanation. In that moment, the world felt loud and silent at the same time. Daniel sat frozen, replaying the image again and again, hoping he had missed something. Maybe it was an engagement party. Maybe it was an old photo. But the comments confirmed it. Congratulations. Blessings, inside jokes from relatives he grew up with. People who knew his name. People who didn't think to tell him. The hurt didn't come all at once. It came slowly, like a crack spreading through glass. This wasn't just about missing a wedding. It was about being erased. Growing up in Ohio, Daniel had always been the steady one. He was 4 years older than Emily, the brother who walked her to school, fixed her bike chain, and stayed up late helping her study before exams. Their parents, Mark and Linda Harper, relied on him. He learned early how to be responsible, how to not ask for too much. When he moved out for college, then later to Seattle for work, everyone said they were proud. Distance, they said, wouldn't change anything. But distance has a way of quietly rearranging priorities in Seattle. Daniel built a life that looked successful from the outside. He worked as a UX designer at a growing tech company, rented a clean apartment with large windows, and stayed busy, enough to avoid loneliness. He flew home for holidays when he could, sent gifts when he couldn't, and called his parents every few weeks. Still, conversations became shorter. Updates about Emily came secondhand. Important moments seemed to happen without him. He told himself it was normal. Families drift. Life moves on, but a wedding was different. After an hour of staring at the screen, Daniel finally called his mother. Linda answered on the third ring, her voice warm but cautious, like she already knew why he was calling. He didn't accuse her, he didn't raise his voice. He simply asked, "Why didn't anyone tell me?" There was a pause. Then she said they didn't think he'd be able to come. That Emily wanted a small wedding, that it was complicated. The words sounded rehearsed. Daniel listened, nodded, even though she couldn't see him, and said he understood. When the call ended, he realized he didn't. That night, Daniel barely slept. Memories flooded his mind. Emily borrowing his jackets. Emily crying on his shoulder after her first heartbreak. Emily promising they'd always be close. None of it seemed to matter now. The next morning, he went to work like nothing had happened, answered emails, joined meetings, and smiled when needed. But something inside him had shifted. He stopped checking the family group chat. He stopped reaching out first. If they didn't need him, he wouldn't force his way back in. Weeks passed. Then months. The pain dulled but didn't disappear. It lived quietly in the background, surfacing in small moments when he passed a wedding venue, when he heard laughter in a crowded restaurant, when someone asked if he had siblings. He kept moving forward because that's what he had always done. That's when Claire Mitchell joined the company. Claire was different from the people Daniel usually noticed. She wasn't loud or flashy. She carried herself with calm confidence, the kind that made others feel comfortable. She had moved from Vancouver to Seattle for a leadership role and seemed genuinely interested in people, not just projects. Their first conversation happened in the break room over burnt coffee and an awkward joke about deadlines. It should have ended there. It didn't. They started talking more about work at first, then about life. Claire asked questions that weren't invasive but thoughtful. She listened closely, remembered small details, and never rushed the conversation. Daniel found himself looking forward to those moments, the quiet understanding that grew between Then, one rainy evening, after staying late at the office, they walked out together. The city lights reflected on wet pavement, and something about the moment felt heavy with honesty. Without planning to, Daniel told her about the wedding. He didn't dramatize it. He didn't hide it either. He explained how he found out. How. It felt how he still didn't know what he had done wrong. Claire didn't interrupt. She didn't offer quick advice. When he finished, she simply said that being excluded like that leaves a mark, and that it wasn't his fault. The words were simple, but they landed deeply. For the first time, Daniel felt seen without having to prove himself. Their relationship grew naturally after that. No sudden confessions, no big gestures. Just shared lunches, late conversations, and the steady comfort of someone choosing to stay. Claire had her own stories about moving countries, about starting over, about learning which relationships were worth fighting for. They bonded over those experiences, finding strength in honesty. A year passed quietly, and Daniel felt more like himself than he had in a long time. One weekend, he took Claire to San Juan Island. The ocean was calm, the sky soft with clouds. As they walked along the shore, Daniel realized something important. The pain from his family no longer defined him. It existed, but it didn't control him. He wanted to build something real, something grounded in choice, not obligation, he proposed. That evening, simply and sincerely, Claire said yes without hesitation. When they began planning the wedding, Daniel was intentional. He didn't want perfection. He wanted warmth. They chose a small venue, meaningful details, and a guest list filled with people who had shown up for them. Friends from Seattle, Claire's family from Canada, colleagues who had become close friends. And yes, Daniel sent invitations to his parents and Emily, not out of guilt, but because he believed in giving people the chance to choose differently. The responses came slowly. Emily declined without much explanation. Their parents said they weren't sure they could attend. Reading the message, Daniel felt the old ache return, but this time it didn't knock the air out of him. He didn't chase them for answers. He didn't try to convince them. He simply accepted the truth that had been building for years. Not everyone will meet you where you stand. That realization hurt. But it also freed him. Daniel focused on the wedding ahead, on the life he was building with Claire. He knew something important had changed inside him. He no longer measured his worth by who included him and who didn't. He understood now that family wasn't just about blood. It was about presence, about showing up when it mattered. As the wedding date drew closer, Daniel felt a quiet strength he had never known before. Whatever happened next, he was ready. The day of Daniel and Claire's wedding started like any other, yet it felt like the world had shifted beneath their feet. From the moment the sun rose over Seattle, everything seemed brighter. The air smelled faintly of rain and blooming flowers, a reminder that life could be fresh and unexpected even after months of hurt. Daniel woke before dawn, staring at the ceiling as memories of the past year rushed in the hurt of being excluded from Emily's wedding. The loneliness, the quiet, nights filled with what-ifs. But those memories were tempered now by Claire's presence, by the knowledge that he had chosen a family that truly valued him. Today wasn't about them. It was about the life they were building together. The venue, a charming waterfront hall, had been carefully decorated. Soft lights hung from wooden beams, flowers in pastel shades lined the aisle, and chairs were arranged in neat rows with the view of the water in the distance. Friends and family arrived, bringing warmth and laughter. Among them were colleagues from Canada, childhood friends, and new friends made through Claire's work. People who had chosen to be present, not out of obligation, but out of love and respect. Every smile, every hug, every shared laugh was a reminder that Daniel's life had not been defined by exclusion. It had been defined by those who showed up. As guests found their seats, Daniel felt his nerves tighten, not from fear, but from the weight of emotion. He looked around and saw faces beaming with happiness for him. Among the crowd were people who had supported him through lonely nights, who had celebrated his successes and comforted him in quiet moments. He realized that this wedding wasn't just a ceremony. It was a testament to the choices that had led him here, to the understanding that family could be chosen, not just inherited. Claire appeared at the entrance, radiant in a simple yet elegant dress. Her smile was soft, full of anticipation and love. The moment Daniel saw her, the tension inside him melted. Every past hurt, every feeling of being left out, every silent disappointment faded in the face of the life they were creating together. As she walked down the aisle, he felt a surge of gratitude, not just for her, but for the journey that had led them to this moment. The ceremony was intimate yet filled with significance. Vows were exchanged, promises spoken in quiet, deliberate, words that reflected both vulnerability and strength. Daniel's voice trembled slightly as he spoke, acknowledging the pain of the past and the hope for the future. Claire's eyes glistened with tears, and when their hands joined, was more than a gesture. It was a silent declaration that they were each other's home, their safe place. Friends and family clapped, a wave of warmth washing over them. For Daniel, every sound was a reminder that being seen, being loved, and being chosen felt more powerful than any past rejection. After the ceremony, the reception buzzed with joy. Laughter mingled with the clinking of glasses, and the room was alive with stories, hugs, and shared memories. Guests traveled from different parts of the world, some from Canada, some from London, and others from across the United States. Their presence was a celebration not only of Daniel and Claire's union, but of the connections they had nurtured along the way. The diversity of people, the coming together of old friends and new, created a sense of community that Daniel had longed for but never realized he could have. Social media began to capture the day in real time. Friends posted photos of candid moments: Claire's laughter, Daniel's proud smile, the first dance, the heartfelt speeches. One particular video, recorded by a friend during Daniel's speech, began circulating unexpectedly. In it, Daniel spoke with raw honesty about his journey. He shared how exclusion from his own family had left him feeling invisible, and how discovering the love and support of friends and chosen family had changed his perspective entirely. He emphasized the importance of connection, the power of presence, and the beauty of relationships built on choice. The clip resonated far beyond their circle of friends, drawing comments from people who had experienced similar pain and found solace in Daniel's words. Within days, the wedding became a story, shared across platforms. Strangers sent messages expressing gratitude and recognition, sharing their own experiences of estrangement and reconciliation. Daniel was stunned by the reach of a single day, the way love and honesty could travel so far. He never intended for it to become public. He simply wanted to celebrate his life with Claire. Yet the message resonated, touching people he would never meet and reminding them that it was never too late to choose connections that mattered. Amid the growing attention, Emily finally called. Her voice was uncertain, tinged with disbelief. She asked why so many people were talking about the wedding and why she had not been included. Daniel listened quietly, a calm settling over him that had not existed during the months of exclusion. For the first time, he didn't feel the need to explain, to justify, or to plead. He simply told her the truth. She hadn't shown up when it mattered. There was silence on the other end, and for once, Emily had no words. The power of choice had shifted, and Daniel's peace was not dependent on her response. His parents reached out in the following weeks. Apologies came with hesitations, full of half-truths and explanations that barely masked their discomfort. Daniel read their messages carefully, considering each word. But he no longer felt the desperation to fix what was broken. Healing, he realized, was not about convincing others of your worth. It was about recognizing your own and surrounding yourself with those who affirmed it. He chose to respond with measured understanding, keeping the door open without rushing. Reconciliation.life with Claire continued, rich with the quiet joys of everyday connection. They built routines that reflected their personalities and values, creating rituals of love that felt intimate and meaningful. Sunday breakfasts became a cherished tradition, as did evening walks along the waterfront. Shared laughter over minor mistakes, playful debates, and quiet evenings together cemented a sense of belonging that Daniel had never experienced fully with his biological family. It was a love founded on presence, respect, and choice, one that required effort but yielded profound satisfaction. Months later, Daniel received a handwritten letter from Emily. Her words were filled with regret and reflection, acknowledging her missteps in expressing the weight of exclusion. Daniel read it slowly, feeling the old pain surface briefly before giving way to a tempered understanding. He shared it with Claire, who rested her head on his shoulder, offering comfort and silent affirmation. Together, they contemplated the future, the boundaries needed, and the forgiveness that could only come when earned in the end. Daniel understood that the world could witness the beauty of a wedding, the joy of love, and the impact of honesty. But the most significant transformation occurred in quiet, private moments. The viral attention and global recognition were secondary to the daily acts of care. The consistent presence of chosen family and the mutual respect he shared with Claire. Being excluded once had nearly shattered him, but being embraced by those who mattered had healed him in ways he never anticipated. The viral video faded from trending lists. Social media attention waned, but Daniel's life remained profoundly changed. He had discovered the meaning of family beyond bloodlines, the importance of choosing connections, and the power of being present for one another. The experience left a lasting imprint, not as a story of rejection, but as a testament to resilience, love, and the strength found in intentional relationships. Daniel's journey, once marked by absence, became a narrative of inclusion, hope, and emotional growth. In the quiet aftermath of celebration, he and Claire built a life that was theirs, fully and authentically, grounded in choice, love, and understanding. And though the memory of exclusion lingered, it no longer defined him. Instead, it reminded him of the beauty in choosing who shows up, and in recognizing that true family is found not in obligation, but in love, freely given and received.